day everyone, especially Sir Alinyo. In this video, we're going to tackle the Lesson 1 Module 6 in Entrepreneurship, which is Develop the Business Model. So, in this module, we're also expected to develop a business model. So, keep watching. Firstly, what is a business model? Well, a business model is basically a plan or framework that explains how a company creates value and earns money. It is like a guide that shows how a business works. It describes what the business will offer, who its customers are, or how it will deliver its product or services, and how it will generate profit. In the material, a business model is shown as something that can be used to make something, used to describe something, a plan or a diagram. This means a business model is not just an idea, it is a structured way of organizing how all parts of a business fit together. So, according to Michael Lewis in the New Newsday, the term business model is often used but not always clearly defined. It is something people recognize when they see it, but sometimes find difficult to explain. This idea was also discussed by Andrea Owens in Harvard Business Review. In simple terms, a business model answers important questions such as, what problem are we solving? How will we solve it? Who are our target customers? How will we earn revenue? What costs will we incur? It also explains how a company creates, delivers, and captures value, not only economically, but also socially and culturally. Lastly, a business model is part of a business plan. It outlines what products or services the company will produce, how they will market them, and how they plan to make a profit while managing expenses. To summarize, a business model is the foundation of any successful business because it shows the company's core logic on how it operates and earns.
There are several important phases in developing a business model. First, the business must identify its target audience to understand who the customer are and what they need. Next, it should establish clear business processes to ensure smooth operation. The company must also record and manage its research properly, developing a strong value proposition. It is important because it explains why customers should choose the product over competitors. In addition, determine key business partner helps strengthen operations and expand opportunities. Lastly, creating a demand through effective marketing strategy ensure continuous sales and growth. And that's all for the important phases in developing a business model. Now let's move on to the next part, which is the 9 basic building block of basic business model, and it will be reported by my fellow members. There are several important phases in developing a business model. First, the business must identify its target audience to understand who the customer are and what they need. Next, it should establish clear business processes to ensure smooth operation. The company must also record and manage its research properly, developing a strong value proposition. It is important because it explains why customers should choose the product over competitors. In addition, determine key business partner helps strengthen operations and expand opportunities. Lastly, creating a demand through effective marketing strategy ensure continuous sales and growth. And that's all for the important phases in developing a business model. Now let's move on to the next part, which is the 9 basic building block of basic business model, and it will be reported by my fellow members.
A pleasant day to you, Sir Alinio. I am Angel Andico, and today I will be discussing the 9 basic building blocks of basic business models as part of our assigned module. So, this presentation will focus on customer segment, value propositions, and channels. So, these parts are important because they help businesses understand their customers, create a valuable products, and deliver them effectively. So let's begin. Okay, so first one we have a customer segment. So this means that a customer segment is the specific group of people that a business wants to serve. So these are the target customers who are most likely to buy the product or service. Businesses group customers based on similarities like age, location, interest, income, and needs. So, identifying the correct customer segment helps the business focus on the right people and create more products that truly solve their problems. Next is how to identify customer segments. So, businesses study different characteristics of customers to group them properly. So, they look at factors such as age, gender, lifestyle, behavior, and common problems. So, when customers share similar needs, they belong to one segment. Understanding this helps the business adjust its product, marketing strategy, and pricing to better match the group. For example, if I have a healthy snack business, it means that my target market would be the students who need a quick snacks, or the kaya office workers who want a convenient food, and also fitness lovers who prefer a healthy options. Now let's move on to the second one, which is the value propositions. So value propositions is the main reason why customers choose your product instead of competitors. It explains the benefit or advantage that your product gives. Customers buy products because they want a solution or improvement in their situation. So, a strong value proposition clearly shows what makes your product useful, different, and worth buying. So, value propositions, it has a two types of value, which is the quantitative value and the qualitative value. So, first, let us have the quantitative value. So this means that quantitative value focuses on benefits that can be measured or compared using numbers. Example include lower price, faster delivery, better performance, or longer durability. Customers can easily see and compare these advantages. If your product is cheaper or more efficient than others, that measurable benefit is quantitative value. The next one, we have the qualitative value. This means that qualitative value focuses on the customer's feelings, experiences, and satisfaction. It includes things like attractive design, comfort, brand image, and good customer service. So this cannot be measured by numbers, but they strongly influence customers' decisions. If your product makes customers feel confident, happy, or satisfied, that emotional benefit is qualitative value.
So let us now proceed to the third one, which is the channels. So channels are the ways of a business reaches the customers and delivers its products or services. So it includes how the business promotes the product, how customers purchase it, and how the product is distributed. Channels act as the connection between the business and its customers. So without proper channels, even a good product may not reach the right market. So channels, it has two types, which is the company-owned channel and the partner channels. So let us have the first one, the company-owned. Company-owned channels are platforms that the business directly controls. Examples include a physical stores, official websites, and social media pages. So, because the business manages these channels, it has a full control over branding, pricing, and communication. So, this allows the business to build a stronger relationships with the customers and maintain a consistent image. So now let's move to the second type of channels, which is the partner channels. So partner channels are platforms or businesses that help sell or contribute and distribute the product. Examples include online marketplaces, distributors, and resellers. So in this case, the business works with other companies to reach more customers. Although there is a less direct control, partner channels help expand the market and increase product exposure. For example, if I sell a handmade bracelets, I can use Facebook to promote them and also sell them in a school booth during events. So to summarize everything in a simplest term, customer segment tells us who we serve, while value proposition explains what value we give to them. And on the other hand, channels show how we reach and deliver our product to the customers. A strong business model always focuses on understanding customers and giving them a real value. So that ends my part in this lesson 1. Thank you so much for listening.
Assistance, human interaction, dedicated personal assistance, long-term relationship, self-service, no direct employee action, automated service, AI or system action, communities, peer-to-peer interaction. Lastly, co-creation. Customers contribute ideas or content. Hi everyone, I'm Crisel Jane Daniel and I will be discussing the key resources. What key resources do our value propositions require? Our distribution channels, customer relationships, or revenue streams? Number 1 is value propositions, what you offer to customers. Next, distribution channels. It's how you deliver your product. Next one, customer relationships, how you deal with your customers. And lastly, revenue streams, how you earn money. So in summarization, you create your product, you deliver your product, you take care of your customers, and you will earn money.
Good day everyone, I am Andrea Catalan and today I will be discussing about revenue stream. Let us define what a revenue stream is. So a revenue stream refers to the way a company generates income from its customers. In simple terms, it is a methodology or strategy a company uses to make customers pay for its product or service. When businesses create revenue streams, they must ask important questions such as: first, for what value are our customers really willing to pay? Second, for what do they currently pay? And the third one, how would they prefer to pay? The fourth, How much does each revenue stream contribute to the overall revenue? These questions help businesses understand their customers better and choose the most effective way to earn income. Now, let's talk about the different ways revenue streams can be created, and the first one is the asset sale. This is when a company sells the ownership of a product to a customer. Once the customers buy it, they fully own it. For example, when you buy a cell phone, clothes, or a book, you now own that item. The second one is the usage fee. In this method, the company charges customers based on how much they use a product or service. For example, electricity and water bills are based on usage. The more you use, the more you pay. The third one is the subscription fee. Here, the customers pays regularly, weekly, monthly, or yearly, to continuously access a product or service. For example, streaming platforms like Netflix charge a monthly subscription fee. The fourth one is lending, leasing, and renting. In this case, customers pay to get exclusive access to a product or service for a specific period of time, but they do not own it. For example, renting a house or leasing a car. The fifth one is the licensing. A company earns money by allowing others to use its intellectual property, such as patents, trademarks, or copyrighted materials, in exchange for payment. For example, a company paying to use a brand name or technology. The sixth one is the brokerage fees. A brokerage fee is charged by a company or individual who acts as an intermediary between two parties. For example, real estate agents earn commissions by helping people buy or sell property. The seventh one is the advertising. In these revenue streams, a company charges other businesses to advertise their product using its platform or medium. For example, social media platforms like Facebook earn revenue from advertisement. Now, when setting up revenue stream, pricing is very important. An effective price is usually determined through a process of elimination. Businesses test different price options, compare results, and evaluate which pricing strategy works best. It is also important for business owners to pause and reflect on possible opportunities available for them. They must consider customer needs, market demand, and competition before finalizing their customer streams. To conclude, revenue streams are essential because they determine how a business earns money. Without a clear revenue stream, a business cannot survive. By understanding what customers value and how they prefer to pay, companies can create strong and sustainable income sources.
Good day, everyone. I am Laura Jean P. Antipolo, one of the group member of Group 6. For Lesson 1, I am assigned to discuss about key partners and cost structure in a business. These two are very important parts of a business because they help the business operate smoothly and manage its money properly. Key partners focus on the people or business that help your business run, while cost structure talks about all the expenses or costs needed to operate the business. So today, I will explain these two in a simple and clear way for us to understand better. First, let's have key partners. Key partners are the people or businesses that help your business operate. Partnership can be strategic alliances, joint ventures, buyer-supplier relationships. Example, if you have a milk tea shop, your supplier of ingredients and your delivery riders are your key partners. So, without them, your business cannot function properly. So, key partners help provide resources and reduce risk in the business. So next, let's have cost structure. Cost structure refers to all the expenses needed to operate the business. There are two types. First, let's have fixed cost. Example, rent, utility bills, phone bills or communication, accounting, legal and insurance fees, costs, and so on. And another types it is variable cost. For example, cost of goods sold, materials and supplies, packaging, customer service, and so on. So there are also two: economics of scale and economies of scope. Economies of scale cost decrease when production increases, while economies of scope cost decrease when investing in related products. So understanding cost structure helps businesses control expenses and plan properly. So to summarize, key partners are the people or companies that support and help the business operate, like suppliers and delivery riders. Without them, the business cannot function properly. On the other hand, cost structure includes all the expenses of the business, whether fixed costs like rent and salaries or variable costs like materials and packaging. Understanding this cost helps the business control spending and plan wisely.
A business model is a plan that explains how a business creates values for customers and earns profit. It shows how the business will operate, how it will serve, and how it will make money. So there are 13 parts of the business model, but first is the customer segments, the specific group of people that the business want to serve. Second is the value proposition, is the product or service and the problem it solves. Third is how the channels, is how the products or service reaches customers like store, online, delivery, and etc. Fourth is customer relationship. This is how the business communicates and builds trust with customers. And fifth is the revenue streams, how the business earns money like sales, fees, subscription, and etc. And sixth is the key resources, important assets needed to operate like the capital, your equipment, your employees, and skills. Seventh one is the activities, main tasks that the business must perform like production, marketing, selling. And the eighth is the key partners like supplier or partners that help the business operate. And the last nine main part is the cost structure. It is all about the all expenses needed to run the business. But there's additional parts included in this module, which is the mission statement, the purpose of the business, why it exists, the vision statement, the future goal or dream of the business, the core values, these principles and belief that guide the business, and the last is the competitive advantage or the unique selling proposition or the USP, that what makes the business different and better than competitors. So there's importance of developing a business model. These lessons emphasizes that developing a business model helps entrepreneurs to organize ideas clearly, understand the customers better, and plan income and expenses, reduce risk, and identify strengths and weaknesses, and also increase the chances of success. So it serves as a blueprint or the guide before starting a business. So overall lesson to this module and to the lesson 1, especially to the lesson 1, it teaches that before starting a business, an entrepreneur must carefully plan using a business model. A well-developed business model ensures that the business knows its target market and it will offer real value, and it has a clear income source, and it can manage costs properly, and also it has direction and purpose. So
For conclusion, a business model turns a business idea into a clear and workable plan. So that's all for the summarizations for lesson 1. I hope you understand and learn from it. Thank you. Let's move on to the lesson 2. So the lesson 2 is about unlocking terminologies. The first is forecasting. So the forecasting means predicting what might happen in the future, especially in business. It uses past and present data to estimate the future sale, cost, or even a profit. Since the future is uncertain, businesses use forecasting to prepare what might make it better decisions. Second is revenue. Revenue is the income a business earns from selling products or service. It is the money that comes into the business before expenses are deducted. The third is cost. Cost is the money spent to produce goods or provide service, and it includes materials, labor, equipments, and other expenses related to selling the product. Without cost, a product or service cannot be created. The fourth is earned. Earned income is money received from a worker or providing service. Example, salary, wages, or payment for service. The five is incurred. Incurred means to experience or becoming responsible for the cost or expenses incurred. It is the past form meaning the expenses has already happened and was recorded. Let me give you an example. So the example is the company paid for electricity is incurred and expenses. Let's move on into forecast and understanding the revenue. So the forecasting and understanding revenue are both important for a business to grow. Forecasting means predicting how much money the business might earn in the future by using past and present data. It helps business owners prepare the possible changes and make better decisions. While the understanding revenue means knowing how much the business earns from selling products or service. When business owners clearly understand their revenue, they can see if the business is improving or not. By forecasting and understanding revenue, the business can plan properly, control expenses, and set realistic goals. These two help business stay organized, avoid losses, and increase profit. When a business knows its revenue can predict future earnings, it has a better chance of success. Gross revenue is the total amount of money a business earns from selling products or services before deducting any expenses. It is a full income received from customers. Gross revenue does not include costs like rent, salary, electricity, or materials. It only shows the total sales of a business. It helps the owner see how much money is coming in. For example, if a store sells 10,000 pesos worth of product in one day, so the gross revenue is 10,000 pesos. So now, let's move on to the net revenue. So the net revenue is the money left after subtracting expenses and other costs of the gross revenue. It shows the real earnings of the business. Expenses may include rent, salaries, utilities, and the other operating costs. Net revenue helps the business know if it's truly making a profit. For example, if the gross revenue is 10,000 pesos and the total expenses are 6,000 pesos and the net revenue is 40k thousand pesos. So I have a question or problem solve. Let me explain the given example of the net revenue and explain the solution to arrive at the net profit at 820,000 pesos. So the first step is compute the total revenue. So the business earned money from two sources, a revenue from the other operations and the other revenues. So the first is revenue from the other operation, which is 50,000 pesos, and the other revenue is 1,100,000. So the total get the total revenue and we add them. So 50,000 plus 100 million and 100,000 pesos is equals to 1,150,000 pesos. So the business earns 1,150,000 total revenue. So the second step is compute total expenses. So the business is also has expenses that need to be paid. For example, the payroll, maintenance, and insurance and tax. So the payroll has 150 pesos, and for the maintenance is 55,000 pesos, and for the insurance is 20,000 pesos, and the tax is 10,000 pesos, and it has an interest which is 5,000. Now we add the all expenses: 150,000 pesos, 55,000 pesos, 20,000 pesos, 100,000 pesos, 5,000 pesos is equals to 330,000 pesos. So the total expenses are 333,000. And the step 3 is compute net profit. The net profit is the final amount left after subtracting all expenses from total revenue. So the formula is net profit equals total revenue minus total expenses. Now, i-minus na to ang net profit which is 1,150,000 pesos is subtract to 330,000 pesos. It equals to 820,000 pesos. So the final explanation, the business earns 1,050,000 pesos in total after paying 330,000 pesos for all expenses. The remaining money is 820 pesos. That 820,000 pesos is called net profit. It shows the real earnings of the business after paying all costs.
Good day, everyone. Once again, I am Largent P. Antipolo, part of the member of Group 6. Today, in Lesson 2, I will discuss part of the Business Model Canvas, a business tool developed by Alexander Osterwalder. This tool helps entrepreneurs understand how a business works, how it earns money, who helps the business, and what expenses are involved. So now let's start. How to calculate revenue. Revenue is the money a business earns from selling products or services. There are two simple formulas. First, for product-based business, revenue equal units sold times price. For example, if you sell 50 milk teas at 100 each, 50 times 100 equals 5,000 revenue. Next, for service-based business. Revenue equal number of customers times price of service. For example, if 10 customers paid 300 for a haircut, so what is it? So it is 10 times 300 equals 3,000 revenue. So revenue simply depends on how many you sell and how much you charge it. To summarize, revenue shows how business earns money. If a business understands the revenue clearly, it can manage money wisely and grow successfully. That's why the business model canvas is very important for future entrepreneurs like us. And that's all for my part of discussion about the business model canvas of revenue. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Tin Chavez Christine, and I will be discussing the forecast revenue using both a conservative case and an aggressive case. If you like most entrepreneurs, you'll constantly fluctuate between conservative reality and an aggressive dream state, which keeps you motivated and helps you inspire others. I call this dream state audacious optimism. Now, we will start in the conservative case. So, conservative case is the realistic estimate based on current sales or like the actual performance. It also includes a possible risk. And in the conservative case, they will gonna assumes that moderate growth. So, this helps the business stay safe and prepared. So for example, in the conservative case is if the company earns a 100,000 monthly, a conservative forecast might project 110,000. It will increase 10%. So that's the example of the conservative case. Now let's move on to aggressive case. So now the aggressive case is the best case scenario. It's because it is assumed strong marketing. It also have higher demand, and of course the aggressive case is also have a fast growth. So this is what motivates all the entrepreneurs. The text called this mindset audacious optimism. So it means like having a bold confidence and and big dreams for the business. But even aggressive forecast should still be reasonable, not unrealistic. Let's move on to the K ratio to make sure your projections are sound. So in the check K ratios is to make sure your projections are sound. After making an aggressive revenue forecast, it's easy to it's easy to forget about expenses. But many entrepreneurs will optimistically focus on reaching revenue goals because it assumes that expenses can be adjusted to accommodate reality if revenue doesn't materialize. So the power of positive thinking might be help you grow grow sales. So but it is not enough to pay your bills. So it means like in the check K ratios is after forecasting the revenue, you must check if your projections make your financial sense or sound. Because many entrepreneurs forget to analyze the expenses and only focus on increasing the sales. They assume if the sales don't grow, then they will just adjust the expenses. But this is dangerous. It's because positive thinking helps motivation, but it does not pay any bills. That's why checking financials ratios is very important. So now let's move on to my last part, which is the gross margin. Gross margin is what's the ratio of total direct cost of total revenue during a given quarter or a given year. And this is one of the areas in which aggressive assumptions typically become too unrealistic. Beware of assumptions that make your gross margin increase from 10 to 50%. If customer service and direct sales expenses are high now, they will likely be high in the future. In simple understanding, one key ratio is to check is gross margin. What is the gross margin? Gross margin shows how much money is left after paying direct costs. That's the simple understanding to the gross margin. It's because if you have formula like simple and explanation and revenue, it's direct cost and it will be equal to gross profit. So why gross margin is very important? It's because sometimes when making an aggressive forecast, entrepreneurs assure that their revenue will increase a lot, but costs will stay low. So this make gross margin jump from 10% to 50%. Take note, but this is often unrealistic because if customer service are higher and the direct sales expenses are also higher, they will probably still be high in the future because cost usually do not suddenly decrease unless the company changes its aspirations. For easy way to remember, the aggressive case is to dream big, while the conservative case is to stay realistic, and the gross margin is to check the numbers. And that's all for my part, and thank you for listening. God bless.
Operating profit margin. How much profit your business makes after paying operating costs just like rent, salaries, and utilities, but not including loan payments. Total headcount per client. How many workers you have compared to how many clients you serve. Factors to consider when estimating revenue. Number 1, economic condition of the country. To know if the economy is good, people have more money. Number 2, competitors. Check how your competitors are doing because this gives you an idea of market demand. Number 3, changes in the community. Changes in customer lifestyle. If people start preferring online shopping, your business should adjust. And lastly, internal business factors. Your production capacity or how much you can produce. If you can only produce 100 per day, you cannot sell 500 items per day. So that would be all my part, and thank you.
Good day everyone, again I am Andrea Catalan and today I will be discussing about forecasting the cost to be incurred. But first, what is cost incurred? A cost incurred is an expense that the company becomes responsible or liable to pay, even if it was not yet paid in cash. In accounting, expenses are recorded when they are incurred, not when they are paid. This follows the accrual basis of accounting. For example, a Schumer retailer begins operations on December 1, and its electricity meter is read at the end of the month. Even if the bill has not yet been received by December 31, the retailer already used electricity. Therefore, the retailer must record, first, an electricity expense in December, the second, a liability because it owes the utility company. This follows the matching principle, which states that expenses must be recorded in the same period as the revenues they help to generate. The matching principle is required under Generally Accepted Accounting Principle or the GAAP to ensure that financial statements present a consistent and accurate picture of a company's performance. Now, let's look at the example of Fauna and Flora Gardens owned by Juana. We will determine which costs were incurred in November 2020. The first one is the depreciation, the machinery. Cost of machinery, 24,000 pesos. Useful life, 1 year or 12 months. To compute monthly depreciation, 24,000 pesos divided by 12 months is equal to 2,000 per month. This means that machinery contributes 2,000 pesos as depreciation expense for November. Even if no cash is paid monthly, the machinery is being used, so it costs to be spread over its useful life. The second one is the rental expense. Prepaid rent at the start of the year, 24,000 pesos. Since this covers 12 months, 24,000 pesos divided by 12 months is equal to 2,000 per month. For November, 2,000 pesos is considered rent expense because the business has already used that month with their benefit. The third one is the telephone or internet expense. Monthly bill, 2,400 pesos. Even if the company receives the bill on the 5th of the next month, it already used the service for November. Therefore, 2,400 is recorded as an expense for November. The fourth one is the supplies expense. Original supplies inventory is 3,000 pesos, only half remains. This means half was used. 3,000 pesos divided by 2 is equal to 1,500 pesos used. So 1,500 pesos is recorded as supplies expense, while the remaining 1,500 stays as an asset. So the summary of costs incurred in November: depreciation 2,000 pesos, rent expense 2,000 pesos, telephone or the internet 2,400 pesos, supplies used 1,500. These costs are recorded as expense because they were already used or the company become liable for them during the month. To conclude, costs are incurred when the company uses up a resource or the company becomes legally obligated to pay for a service. These expenses are necessary for generating revenue. On the other hand, businesses also incur other operational costs known as operating expenses, which include daily expenses needed to run the business. That ends my report. Thank you for listening. Again, I am Andrea Catalan.
Good day, everyone. Now let us move on to the essentials in the operation of the business. First, operating cost is very important in a business because it includes all the costs needed for that business to continue operating. Without understanding costs, a business cannot properly measure its profit. The formula for the operating cost is operating cost equals to cost of goods sold plus operating expenses. Now let us focus on cost of goods sold, also known as cost of goods sold or cost of sales. Cost of goods sold refers to the total cost of the merchandise or products that were actually sold during a specific period. In simple words, it is the cost of the items that the business has already sold to customers. To compute cost of goods sold, we use this process. We add the beginning inventory to the net purchases. This gives us the cost of goods available for sale. Then, we subtract the ending inventory. Beginning inventory refers to the goods available at the start of the accounting period. These are the unsold items from the previous period. Purchases refers to the goods bought by the business to sell to customers. For example, if a plant shop buys plants from a supplier, that is considered a purchase. When ending inventory refers to the goods that are still unsold at the end of the accounting period. Another important term is freight in. Freight in refers to the transportation costs paid to bring the purchased goods from the supplier to the business. This cost is included as part of purchases because it helps bring the goods to the store. To summarize, beginning inventory plus purchases equals goods available for sale. Then, goods available for sale minus ending inventory equals cost of goods sold. Understanding these terms helps businesses track expenses and determine if they are earning profit or not. That will be all my part. Thank you.
A pleasant day to you, Sir Alinio. So for the lesson 2, I will discuss the cost of goods sold or COGS. So COGS or cost of goods sold helps businesses know the cost of the products they sold to customers. So this helps businesses manage their expenses and check if they are earning profit. Understanding the COGS is important because it helps businesses price their products properly and manage their financial performance. So, what is the cost of goods sold? So, this means that the total cost of products that were already sold to customers. It includes the expenses spent in buying or producing the goods. So this means that COGS is important because it helps businesses know how much money they spent to make or purchase the products they sell. So we have here the COGS formula. This means that the cost of goods sold can be computed using the formula of COGS equals average item sold minus freight in. So this means that businesses subtract freight in from the total value of products sold to know the real cost of goods sold. Next, we have the average item sold. It refers to the total value or cost of the products that the business sold. It helps measure business sales performance. So this means that if a business sells more products, the average item sold will be higher. So the next one will be the freight in. Freight in refers to the transportation or shipping cost when buying goods from suppliers to the business location. So freight in is included in expenses because it is part of purchasing product. So we have here example. If the average item sold is 10,000 pesos, the freight in is equals to 1,000 pesos. The COGS equals to 10,000 minus 1,000, so the equals would be 9,000 pesos. This means that the business spent 9,000 pesos for the products they. So what is the importance of COGS? COGS is very important because it helps businesses control expenses, set proper selling prices, measure business profit, and make a better financial decisions. So to wrap everything up for lesson 2, lesson 2 teaches us how to forecast both revenue and cost before starting or operating a business. Entrepreneurs must estimate expected sales to determine possible income. They must also estimate all expenses, including cost of goods, freight in, and other operating costs. Understanding these procedures and formulas helps the business compute profit correctly. Proper forecasting allows better decision making, financial planning, and long term success of the business. So, without forecasting revenue and cost, the business may face financial problems in the future. So, thank you so much for listening. That ends our presentation.